Hello, everybody. Tonight we are joined by the illustrious John Lamont and Danny, who's back from Adventures in Movie Making. And Danny, you were just telling me that there was a nightclub event that you were doing pretty well at, and I was saying, "Gosh, I wish there was stuff like that here." I do Days of the Dead, which is a horror show, and like the con feels like the old days of clubbing at like the goth industrial clubs because everyone there is in like crazy horror goth makeup and the lighting is a little dark and like they open way later than comic shows. Like comic shows tend to open at like 9:30 to 10 in the morning, whereas these shows don't open till noon.
Well, that would be nice.
Yeah, because they just there's all these after hour parties and events and movies and stuff, so they just assume everyone's been out all night, so they don't want to open too early. But
you do a horror con. Two of my first books were horror books, like horror anthologies.
Yeah,
and one of my collaborators on that does do horror cons and has done really well with those books at them.
Mm-hmm.
And I just haven't gotten around to getting to one yet. I only started doing cons last year, and I don't own a car.
Oh, that's a big limitation.
So I can rent cars, and I've got family with cars and stuff, but it's just a logistical hassle.
Yeah. Because if you don't have a car, you're kind of limited how much merch you can bring.
Well, I do go by car. I just don't own the vehicle, so I have to then go rent the vehicle or whatever. Now that's a really real cost for the event. It's probably a more real cost than ignoring the cost of your own vehicle, which I'm sure, say, Preston, you do. Like, you don't.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, were you breaking up a bit over there? Danny, I can't hear you right now. So, John, we have Blood Feud this evening.
We do.
So, boy, how long have you been working on that script?
At least 10 years.
Yeah, like a long time. I remember I gave notes on a version of the Blood Feud screenplay in, I want to say 2017.
Sounds about right. It was when we were in the writers group.
Yeah, back when you're in the writers group.
This came from Blood Feud came from two separate ideas.
Yeah.
The main influence was an anime called Trinity Blood, and it was basically about vampire hunters.
Neat.
And then there was, and I really always liked the classic Hammer Dracula movies. I was always big fans of those, and good versus evil and that sort of thing. And I felt like post 2000 that was kind of lost in a lot of the more modern vampire stories. So I kind of wanted to delve more, bring that back a little bit. So I kind of took both concepts and merge them into, and by both concepts I mean the modern concept, which is more of your science fiction Blade type vampires, where crosses and holy water don't do shit. But I kind of like the mystical supernatural aspect, so I kind of bring that back in a little bit of what I think is a unique way, and will be kind of interesting. So that's kind of why I've stuck with this story for as long as I have, because I kind of feel like it's not something that's really done anymore, but I think it blends the two concepts together. So
I mean, like, it sounds a bit like Underworld.
It plays like Underworld, but the themes and messages behind it, I think, are what's going to make it stand out. But it is definitely. It is very action heavy, like Underworld is.
Yes.
So,
like having read, just remembering whatever version of the script I was looking at in 2017, I don't remember a lot of themes. I remember like sexy vampire lady running around naked a lot, and there being like a number of fight scenes and a helicopter. I remember there was a helicopter. I don't remember what the helicopter did, but there was definitely a helicopter.
Oh, I remember the hell. Oh yeah, that was one of my climaxes.
Guys, my internet's being really weird. I'm gonna try and disconnect and reconnect again. Sorry.
Okay, sure. Yeah. That's all right. Go ahead. Anyway.
Yeah, there's no helicopters in this one.
Okay.
I tried to tighten out the theme a little bit more, and we'll see if it plays.
So what would you say the thematic elements are in Blood Feud?
Well, it's kind of the good versus evil.
Success.
There we go.
And
good versus evil, always strong.
And there's a bit of a redemption arc for one of our main characters.
There we go.
So that's something that I'm playing into a little bit as well.
Okay.
You know, getting over loss. That's a big theme that's going to be in tragedy and loss and how you deal with that. And
there we go. A little bit of White Lily inspiration, right?
Sure.
No, okay,
if it makes you feel good.
All I know is I sell a hell of a lot of that book. All right. I just go, hey, check it out. 2 deadliest female fighter pilots who ever lived. I sold like 15.
It's a really good elevator pitch, Preston.
Yeah, 15 copies of that.
Also, it's a trade paperback.
Yeah.
Which, as I discovered at that nightclub event, they do well.
They do well. Yeah, no, trades represent a really good value. You know, 20. You know, they're good profit. They represent a good perceived value for the buyer.
Yeah, and they're great value for the seller too, because the printing costs are so much lower.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're nice.
Yeah. All right. So
this Underworld thing, is that what John brought today?
Yes. Yes. We're looking at a screenplay that John has been working on for a decade, and it's so important to him. I remember back when we were first talking about John taking on a comic book project. So this was pre-Demonatrix. That's how long ago this was. And I was like, well, are you going to do a Blood Feud? And he's like, no, Blood Feud is my baby. And I want to do some other less important concept so that I can mess up making a comic book on an unimportant concept, which became Angel of Darkness and Spirit of the Dragon, the less important throwaway concepts. And now this is the pièce de résistance of the Lamont scripts right here. So,
well, there we go. I mean, as I was just saying before we opened, I'm certainly in horror screenplay writing mode. So thank you very much for what I'm sure will be inspirational, John.
There we go. All right, so John, we have this is in comic book format.
Yes,
Holy
this
smokes.
is the comic. This is my comic script adaptation, and that's what we're going to be working on. This is no longer this. We'll see how this plays. This is an adaptation based on the most recent version of the screenplay.
All right.
So I do remember that I brought, again, back before Demonatrix and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually kind of funny because when I originally joined your Discord and started submitting, you didn't even know who I was by my screen name until I posted the Blood Feud screenplay, and you're like, "Oh, that's you."
This has to be John Lamont.
And I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." I remember that.
Back in the days of the Venice Writers Group, I remember there was this very detailed scene of Artemis. You eventually went with my proposed revision.
I did.
Line, which was Artemis prepares a large breakfast, but before that, it was Artemis chops cucumber. Artemis puts stuff in the frying pan. Artemis it was like half a page of direction and action. Artemis prepares a large breakfast. But,
it was quite literally a cooking show in the middle of a screenplay.
Yeah. All right, who do you want to narrate?
You can narrate.
Okay, let's see. Interior, Decker and Artemis's house, bedroom, day, large panel. The bedroom remains dark. I don't know how this is the open of our story. How is it remaining anything? But fine. Remains dark via blackout windows. Decker appears 48. Sleeps on his back. He is tall, muscular, with salt and pepper hair. See character style sheet. Artemis, 34, sickly anorexic, sleeps next to him. They are both nude. Artemis stays on her side, leaning into Decker, her arms and legs wrapped around him, her knee bent across his hips, partially obscuring his genitals. This is definitely opening very John Lamont right here. So
Yep.
The bed sheets crumpled around the foot of the bed only covers up their knees. Panel 2, Artemis awake and sitting up, looks at Decker. She smiles meekly. Her eyes are glazed over white, strung out on an exotic drug. Her petite breasts sunken in from being underweight, her ribs pressed against thin skin. Panel 3, exterior Decker and Artemis house day. Artemis pulls back curtains over the large living room windows, letting the morning sun shine inside. Panel 4, close up Decker and Artemis house living room day. Artemis closes her eyes, basking in the warmth of the sun through the glass. We have a caption that says Artemis and class blood surf. Oh, class. Okay. Well, we're bringing class into this. I see. All right. Panel 2, 4 panels. Panel 1, interior Decker. We're in the bathroom. Artemis stands by the window medicine cabinet with her right hand. She replaces a bottle of prescription. She replaces a bottle of prescription pills into the cabinet next to a large bottle of multivitamins. In her left hand, a pile of pills, a mix of the multivitamins and iron supplements. Panel 2, close up the pills on the shelf. A prescription strength iron supplement, 90 milligrams. A generic women's one-a-day multivitamin. Panel 3, Artemis downs the pills, palm to face, her head and neck arched back. Panel 4, Artemis stands in the shower, water running down her body. She stares down in a daze as the water circles the drain. Knowing the story, I'm going to ask why does she have, but if we're watching in the shower, why don't we see bite marks? All right, fine. Okay. I just wonder.
Oh, because saliva to blood spreads the vampirism, and that's against the rules.
Okay. But I mean, like, she hasn't been bit. I mean, she's been.
No.
Okay. All right. Page 3, panel 1, interior kitchen. Artemis wearing panties and a tank top, which obviously fit her 20 pounds ago, now hangs loosely off her body. One of the tank top straps hangs off her shoulder. She sits on the kitchen table. Before her, a plate of fried eggs, 4 half strips of bacon, diced potatoes, buttered toast, and a glass of orange juice. Artemis eats. Panel 2, interior Decker and Artemis's living room day. The living room is nicely decorated and immaculately spotless. Couch pillows sit perfectly like set by someone with OCD. Artemis vacuums the carpet. Panel 3, the back deck sits level with the door and raised about 30 centimeters off the ground. The patio is made of treated wood planks, some nice exterior chairs set up. Artemis vacuums the treated wood planks. Panel 4. Far background. A white teen girl with blue dyed hair stands by the register, more occupied by her phone than attending to the customers. A radio sits beside her, blares music. Exterior musical notes dance from the radio. Mid-background, standing by some washing machines, a young black hipster in a tank top and shorts chats up a Hispanic college co-ed in a bra and tight yoga pants. Foreground, Artemis, wearing the same tank top and denim capris, sits in a chair staring at the washing machine in the spin cycle. The child, about 2 or 3 years old, wearing a t-shirt and cargo shorts, runs around, arms out, making airplane noises. We need a child. There we go. Panel 2, Artemis and the child's eyes meet. They share a smile. Next panel, the dryer stops and we have a buzz. Page 5. Boy, no dialogue in the first 4 pages. Okay. The single story 2-bedroom on a residential urban street. The lawn unkept, street littered with garbage. A black, unmarked police Dodge Charger sits parked in the driveway behind the house. The Greater New Orleans Bridge stretches across the Mississippi River, and beyond that, the New Orleans skyline, hues of orange and red skyline as the last part of the sun disappears behind the high rises. Caption New Orleans, Louisiana.
I just pause for a second for a continuity note.
Yes.
John, I noticed in your setting of this house that it's unkempt. However, earlier you showed Artemis vacuuming the deck, which is not a thing that normal people do, and seems incredibly extra, as though she were possessed or controlled to just clean, like vacuum everything around the house. These two sets don't match.
Okay. This one I was thinking more the neighborhood, because most of the neighborhoods in New Orleans are absolute shitholes. Even though she keeps the house or the inside of the house.
She vacuums the outside of the house, dude.
Yes, that's because she's crazy. That's not because she's
yeah. So what I'm saying is she crazy enough to also cut the lawn? I think so. That would, like, is everything set perfectly or is it all a mess? I feel like that's a better way.
Okay, I got you. I think I know where you're going with that. Okay.
Sorry for interrupting there, Preston.
No. It's a good point.
Artemis once again fully nude, as though we need to remind the artist. That's right, nude again. Walks into the bedroom towards Decker as he lays still. Artemis lays over Decker, her body arched. Boy, this is a devoted woman. I just want to say, like, you know, vampire lays around the house all day. She's taking care of all the shit, feeding blood, just everything, just slaving away. Oh my god,
vacuuming the front lawn.
Yeah, her body arced.
Oh man, vacuuming the front lawn is definitely there's something wrong here in a fun way.
Her body arched like a playful cat, her hands running up his defined chest, her butt sticking in the air. Decker opens his eyes, smiles at the greeting.
How did my baby sleep? Are you thirsty?
I'm okay right now.
Artemis kisses Decker's chest.
I'm not. I'm very.
Artemis kisses Decker's stomach by his navel.
Very.
Page 6.
It's John Lamont scripts.
Just turning it up to 11. There we go. Artemis, laying on his back, enjoying his pleasure sensations. Or Decker, laying on his back, enjoying. Artemis, back arched, heavily implying she is performing fellatio, her head blocking our view.
Thirsty.
Okay. Mouth apparently not full. Let's see. Panel 2. Decker lays son his back as Artemis rides him. I think that should be on.
Yes, it should be.
Decker braces his strong hands on her hips. She runs her hands through her short hair as the ecstasy takes her. Panel 3, Artemis picks up a straight razor from the side. Boy, this girl's crazy. Panel 4, Artemis cuts herself on the arm and very, very devoted. Where do we find these devoted women? Anyway, blood runs down. Panel 5, the blood drop grows on the tip of Artemis's finger. Panel 7, bedroom day. All right. I thought it was evening, but all right.
It was night. Now it's
I
day.
thought it was night.
Right. Oh, that should be night. This should all be evening.
Okay.
Yeah, we saw sunset and all that.
We saw the sunset. Yeah.
Yeah.
Decker opens his mouth as the blood drips from Artemis's finger into his mouth, splashing on his tongue and the large, bright, white, oversized canine incisors.
That's not how you spell canine.
Well,
also, your canines and your incisors are actually different teeth.
They are different teeth. Good point. Yeah.
Oh.
Panel 2. Artemis has her finger in Decker's mouth as he drinks the blood running down her arm. She leans forward, free hand bracing against the wall. She orgasms. All right. Is that too many actions for one panel, or you think someone can draw all that?
That's all doable.
Okay, let's just do it.
Yeah. Really, her only action is leaning forward.
Yeah. Panel 3.
Yeah. Orgasm is an expression. I can change that.
Yeah.
she gives her O face.
There we go.
But I figured that worked too.
Okay.
I mean, there's no copy, so
there we go.
She could very well be faking it.
She could. Artemis collapses onto the bed beside Decker, exhausted, faint. Decker kisses her sweetly on the forehead.
Feel better?
Always with you at my side.
She's really giving her all. That's all I'm gonna say.
Did John Lamont write a Nickelback song?
This is a good woman. Page 8, panel 1. Exterior alley, 6-story window night. A black suspect wearing tattered tank top, jeans, and sneakers leaps through the 6-story window. Glass explodes into the alley, and we have a crash. The suspect lands on the 5th level of the metal fire escape. His chest hits the railing as he stares 5 stories. Yeah, as he stares 5.
That's not how you spell stairs.
That's not. Okay. His chest hits the railing as he stares 5 stories to the ground. Above him, Decker, wearing slacks, Henley, suit jacket, a high-tech earpiece, leaps from the window.
Oof. Wait, I'm Decker. Okay.
You're Decker. He's got the most lines. He's the main character.
All right, fine. Let's go. All right. I'm going to do both of these. Unless you want to do suspect.
3, landing him. John, you be suspect. There we go. Give me an oof, John. I want to hear this.
Oof.
There we go. All right. Panel 3. Landing beside the suspect, Decker grabs him by the back of the collar, throws him to the wall.
Where's Ether?
I'm not telling you shit.
Uh-oh. That's no way to talk to Decker. Panel 4, Decker strikes the suspect in the throat, crushing it. Yeah, I told you. He vomits blood.
Wait, Decker does?
Yeah, I guess there's somewhat of a...
I mean, how is the suspect going to vomit blood through a crushed throat?
Yeah, I don't know. I believe the suspect with the crushed throat is vomiting blood. Yeah. Then
I guess you won't need these.
Boom.
Whatever those are.
Panel 5, Decker throws the suspect off the fire escape head first. Very good, John. All right. Panel 6, like a 20-year-old Olympian, Decker leaps off the railing. Name Decker, class, night watchman. This is very class focused. All right.
I'm okay with the low-key D&D vibe to it.
Yeah.
Oh, I used to have ages, but that confused people, so I cut them.
Okay, yeah, because Decker would be like really old.
Well, what confused people was that Artemis was 5.
Yeah.
Because it was traced from when she became a blood serf.
Okay.
But he was 126 because it was traced when he became a vampire, and it just confused everybody. Because I was like, okay, fine, I'll cut it.
The details like that should be delivered with more exposition. Otherwise, your exposition
or not at all.
Yeah.
Right, which is why I opted to cut the ages and just kept the name in the classes.
I'm behind that decision.
Page 9, panel 1. Exterior alley night. The suspect lands flat on his back. Bones crack. Thud crack. Above, Decker falls towards the ground, feet first. John.
Oof.
There we go. Your first oof, I felt like had a bit more passion. Panel 2.
Well, I did get my larynx crushed and was just thrown off a building.
Yeah. Panel 2. The suspect runs down the alley. Background, Decker, superhero lands, pistol in hand. Well, I bet you regret telling him. You weren't going to tell him shit.
He just got his larynx crushed, and he got thrown off the building, and now he's running around. Like
This guy's hardcore. Panel 3.
He's going to go vacuum someone's front lawn soon.
There we go. Decker aims his pistol. He has the suspect dead to rights.
Jenkins, he's coming your way.
Dead or alive, you're coming with... Okay, that's a different one.
Yeah, and Decker's letting him go.
Yes. Panel 4. Jenkins, black, 20-ish, drives the police car through the street.
No, man, I don't see him.
Panel 5. New Orleans street night. Jenkins hits the suspect with the car, sending him crashing into the windshield. You had one job, Jenkins. One job. John.
I found him.
Way to go, Jenkins.
Panel 6. The suspect lays on the ground, breathing heavily, illuminated by the vehicle's headlamps. Jenkins walks towards him. named Jenkins, class night watchman. All right. 10, panel 4. Panel 1. The suspect leaps onto Jenkins, sending him across the hood. The suspect's eyes are solid black, his face contorted and demonic, bearing fangs at Jenkins.
Oh, shit.
Panel 2. Decker exits the alley, firing his pistol, shooting him in the side.
Shooting
Blam,
who?
blam. The suspect.
Or it could be Jenkins.
Could be Jenkins. Could be.
Jenkins was the subject of the last panel.
He was the subject of the last. That's a good point.
This is a John Lamont script.
Panel 3. The subject takes off, running across the street as Decker pulls Jenkins off the hood of the police car.
He's frenzying.
Oh, this is okay. I see what you're doing. Did you have to run him over?
Panel 4. Jenkins takes off after the suspect on foot as Decker gets into the police car.
Go. I'll cut him off.
Panel 5. A lot of panels. A homeless bum stands in an alley wearing ratty clothes and overcoat. He stands drinking from a bottle with one hand, his dick out, pissing against the wall.
Glug, glug.
I've never done that. I need to do that. Cross it off my bucket list at some point.
Piss on a wall?
Well, while drinking, you have to complete the image. You have to combine body functions and just the act of complete degeneracy.
I have too many panels as it is.
Yeah, it's a complete degeneracy.
Panels. I'm combining actions and combine panels. Otherwise, it'd be 2 separate panels.
The suspect tackles the homeless man, bites into his neck. Blood runs freely. The homeless man struggles, but his overtaken by supernatural strength of his attacker. Okay, we have a gur.
I think that's the end of page 10.
That's the end. Okay, so that was the opening 10 pages.
I will add another note. I'm liable to forget. That last panel has way too many verbs.
There was a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah,
that's
2 panels.
So, all right, that was our one script of the evening. So, John, good job. You're very prolific, very productive, turning in work. Doing very well in the numbers on your crowd funds. So here we go. We got a vampire, urban fantasy, which is one of my favorite genres. I really love urban.
It's one of mine too.
Yeah. It's it's not a very heavily populated genre. Even the movies that get a lot of praise, like Blade, I don't even think are particularly good, but still
they're enjoyable.
They're enjoyable, and I think that's the bar for urban fantasy. It was enjoyable. There's this. It's not a crowded.
Underworld was the same way. It wasn't particularly good, but it was enjoyable.
Yeah. What were you saying, Danny?
Didn't Get Out win an Oscar? And Everything Everywhere All at Once did really well. That definitely got Best Picture.
Sure.
Are they urban fantasy?
I don't know that I would go Get Out as urban fantasy necessarily.
A lot of horror is kind of fantastic.
Yeah. Yes. Sure. Okay, but I'm saying a horror story is one, but where it's more an action. It's an action genre, but with supernatural critters running about. Anyway. All right, so we saw some characters. We saw a very devoted Artemis who loves her man, literally and figuratively. We saw Decker on the job being a cop. We saw that there was a supernatural world. We saw a fight. We saw bad people, and we saw people getting hurt, and we had a chase. So, it delivered what I figure urban fantasy should deliver. We had action, we had sex, we have supernatural goings-ons, we have New Orleans, we have the cops. Oh, all in all, I feel this is checking all the boxes.
Yeah, I think. This feels a little bit like it was translated from screenplay, but it's a fine, first 10 pages of a screenplay, and your action scene started 7 pages into the comic. So that's about the right place to do it. And there was quite a lot of compelling stuff. I think this is good.
Awesome. Constructives. I don't know. I mean, the pages seem adequate. They seem.
My goal was to tell the reader in the first 10 pages exactly what kind of story they're getting themselves into.
Okay. I feel like I've been told that I'm in a John Lamont story. There's going to be like gratuitous sex, crazy like supernatural violence. The one thing that, you know, having been immersed in your other stories, I'm like, but strangely, like the protagonist bringing the action is a man as opposed to a woman, which you've kind of been doing here for your last two stories. But this time we have a man just, you know, delivering the beatdown, and hooray. So, all right. Yeah. I mean, you know, I don't know that I have a ton of constructives. I mean, it seemed adequate.
I have a ton of constructives.
All right, good. All right, Danny. Go for it. Danny. Of course, Danny. Yeah.
Because it could be more than adequate.
Okay, yeah.
So, first, my personal taste, I want to see Artemis vacuuming a front lawn.
Okay.
I think that's hilarious. I think it tells you exactly what kind of situation she's in, whether it's on purpose or not. And again, I think it's hilarious. So that would be great. As far as other constructives go, weirdly, I feel like you buried your lead on this one, and you should open with the action scene. Likewise, in the action scene, I think the moment when the guy gets up after having his throat crushed and falling off the ground is when you need to have Decker tell his partner Jenkins, hey, yo, this is a vampire. Right? And he's like super scary, and just like make it real obvious. And then once you finish that, right? So then you've opened with 5 to 6 pages of action scene, and then you can go to this dreary day-to-day life of Decker and whatever her name is, starts with an A. That was a good intro, but I mean, this is not a toxic relationship with a vampire story the way you've written it. This is an urban fantasy action-y story with some tragic elements that you are probably going to explore more. But I mean, you're going to sell people, yo, this has vampires. So just give them vampires in the first pages. Like, you can get away with the first 10 minutes in film. 10 pages is a lot before you start giving away the action. Like in a comic, like you're better off having something that looks kind of like the cover on page 1, right?
So you feel like
open with this.
Should he? So all right. So
vampires exist, and then
yeah. So if we did that, then we have like 6 or 7 pages of Artemis being naked and subservient. And are you just want to cut that, or you just want to like?
No, I think it comes later. That comes to the downtime part of the story. When
so you just want to you just want to reverse the order.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Then what do I do with the next section of the downtime?
Well, I don't know. Use an action scene to, you know, make it work, or like maybe have like a little bit of exposition. Okay, I'm gonna go clean up the house during the day. Sleep up, honey. Right, and then you know it's the day instead of having this like house with blackout windows where it's day and you can't tell it's day because it's a vampire what lives there.
Yeah.
Right, because the stuff that's like, oh holy shit, there's a vampire, doesn't like that you like the ending scene with that chase. It doesn't work when you already know there's a vampire, and we already saw there was a vampire with Decker. So, okay, we've already established that vampires exist. So the bad guys of vampire is not like the biggest shock, whereas it's more of a shock if that's the first vampire you see. Bam, you've established vampires. Now Decker, he's a good vampire. Well, that's the next thing we got to tell. Or, you know, he's our heroic anti-hero vampire, or like whatever. So, I mean, unless you're doing this as like a one-shot like graphic novel at a larger page count,
That depends on money, but
yeah, I mean, so
end goal, it's graphic novel, but
yeah, but if you're doing it episodically, like you have fewer pages per chapter, right? And that's sort of what I'm thinking about right now is like, yeah, you can have exposition, but really you're better off like giving them what they came for early. And then you've got this really good world building in a few pages. It's only like 4 or 5 pages. It's good, right? What happens during the day? Okay, well, what happens during the next night? And then just get on with it. And, you know, sex before work is kind of weird, but having a bite to eat before work isn't. So like I'm 50-50 on that stuff. But again, you know, it works better when you've already established that vampires are like a known thing and there's like a secret police and the whole thing, right? Like that's a whole ton of world building you need to get like into the reader's brain as quickly as possible, and that means I think opening with Decker.
okay.
I
think
mean,
it's a structure thing, because then you're selling like, fuck you, dark urban action with all this blood and gore, and oh my god, there's vampires. Okay, so now we're in this world. Okay, well, what is it about this world that's interesting? Well, there's a D&D based class system, and our hero has a massively fucked up relationship with someone who has a ton of problems because she's vacuuming the fucking front lawn. Right? And that tells you a lot already, and you don't need to dive into it until you need to dive into it. But you've done a lot of the heavy lifting without having to waste your time on exposition that way. Instead of like retroactively being like, oh, he's a vampire. Oh, he's a vampire cop. Then you're like 10 pages in, you're like finally realizing the guy's a vampire cop. You're like, I don't know what the title is. If it's not Vampire Cop.
Vampire Cop.
Right? Then assuming your title is better than Vampire Cop, and I've seen that show. It's called Forever Night, and it's set in my city, and you're never going to be better than that.
I saw a couple episodes. It was kind of bleh.
I mean, it's very 80s, is what it is.
Yeah.
But you know, Vampire Cop's a fine show, and like it's very Toronto. But I mean, whatever you're doing, you're also doing it in this. You know, you still have to establish what this New Orleans is like. How is it recovered from all the hurricanes? How is it dealing with having a supernatural population? How is your world different than that of whatever the hell spinoff of Vampire Diaries was set in New Orleans? How is it different than the parts of Interview with the Vampire in New Orleans?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, so that's a ton of work, and you can use Artemis to do that, and you're kind of already doing that by showing that there's a lot more day-to-day life going on. So yeah, like it avoids you having to backtrack and explain things retroactively. And for something that's kind of underworldy like this, you don't want to be backtracking and explaining things retroactively. That's just a big stop sign for your story and your readers. So yeah, that's my recommendation.
What do you think? What are you afraid that I'm going to have to backtrack and explain retroactively?
Like what this world is like because you establish things in the wrong order. So like, okay, there's vampires. Okay, humans are living normally, broadly speaking. Some humans live with vampires. Like, so there are vampires. It's kind of normal, maybe, you know, like you, like just switching the order of these scenes. And I don't know how the cop scene ends, but I mean, okay, you know, he does a chase scene, catches a suspect. He's a vampire cop who hunts other vampires. Cut to credits. Okay, now cut to day-to-day life is what I'm imagining, right?
Oh.
And you do a comics version of that.
No, there's way more.
I'm sure there is, and I'm sure there'll be a ton of exposition, perhaps with a PowerPoint. But
PowerPoint comes much later.
I'm not going to let you live that down.
There is a PowerPoint that's been cut multiple times though. But that comes right before the big action set piece in the middle of the story when the real villain actually shows up.
You still shouldn't need a PowerPoint.
Which you're probably going to end up telling me that I should just start there, which is what I was debating doing. But that really fucks up my order.
Well, I mean, the question I'm going to suggest, so I'm going to more infer than suggest. It seems like this is actually a story about Decker, so put him first.
Yes, it is.
So make his scene first. Give him something to do first, involving him being a vampire cop, and then, the other stuff all the stuff you wrote was good stuff. Just I felt like the order, like the pacing was burying the lead.
Okay.
Like that's honestly it. But that stuff was also very good. And then you gave me this very good like vampire cop thing, and I was like, oh right, it's a vampire cop thing. So why don't you just start with that? So we all know it's a vampire cop project, and we can get on with it. Again, this is unless your title is literally vampire cop.
Okay.
So yeah, I'd consider what that structure looks like, because I think it's gonna sell it better, and it's gonna make your life easier to establish the world. Because you're using that action scene to establish all this vampire stuff and what vampires can do. So, just run with it. And yeah.
Okay.
It was really good. Thanks for sharing.
Right. There we go. I'm looking forward to when we get the vampire queen and boobs everywhere and blood.
Yep.
Just boobs and blood.
That's
which of her
essentially.
orifices does she keep a gun in?
She doesn't use guns.
Oh yeah, she's just
Daggers.
She's all fangs and claws, and
She is. Yep. Fangs, claws, and tits.
Fangs, claw. Yeah, she's like the Tasmanian devil with boobs.
Like Mrs. Tasmanian Devil.
Yeah, like Mrs. Tasmanian Devil. Yeah.
And she wrecks shit up.
Yeah.
Which makes trouble for the humans and the vampires.
Yeah.
All right.
That's the premise.
There's a Tasmanian devil on the loose.
A Tasmanian devil.
A Tasmanian. You know what, John? You can use that title if you want.
Yeah, it's all yours, man.
Yeah, it's all yours.
I'm sure Warner Brothers won't have a problem with that whatsoever.
The Tasmanian devil. I think
they wouldn't want to draw attention to it. I'm sure.
Yeah, I think you're safe on that one. Not to mention, there's an actual animal called the Tasmanian devil. So yeah.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
You'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Anyway. All right. That was our. I know that was our.
Maybe for my next porn comic.
There we go. That was our only script of the evening. I'll probably start work on Palace issue 5. Why not? Might as well get ahead of things.
Might as well get it written. I mean, you've got lots of time with.
Yeah.
Ediano's progress is going to be quite slow for a while.
Yeah.
Is he still busy?
He's being micromanaged right now, and he hates everything.
Oh.
He's busy.
So we haven't been able to get. We might get another page this month. But I mean, we're close to being done with that issue at least.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're like 2/3 of the way.
Yeah. I suspect once he frees up, he might be able to block a bit of time and just get a bunch of stuff done. So if the scripts are ready, it's going to make that a lot easier.
Exactly.
And then, of course, when you're done writing Palace, then you can finish the D&D stuff, which is going to take a while.
Yeah.
Or
and come back to Lords of Iron and start working on Gatsby and whatnot. And yeah, more stuff.
There you
go. Awesome. Okay, everyone.
Don't forget to back Cygnus Imperium 3, which is on Kickstarter now.
Yes.
And we read that script and workshopped it here.
Fantastic. So, yeah, 2 more success stories. John Lamont and Danny Gormley taking over the indie comic scene on Kickstarter. So, looking forward to next week and all the scripts we're going to have. Till then, good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Night, everybody.